This week marks the 34th anniversary of the F-Zero series. To celebrate, let's spend a little bit of time talking about the lore of the third game in the series, F-Zero X, released on the Nintendo 64 in July of 1998. It was in that game that F-Zero entered true 3D, and the game is massively expanded from the original, with a new game mode, a bunch of new tracks, and more than 7 times the number of pilots of the original game. Even though there isn't much in the way of story, we still have a lot to cover, so let's jump in. Sometime after the SNES games, a massive crash occurred during a race. While none of the drivers were killed, many were badly injured, and the sponsors of the race chose to suspend them indefinitely. This lasted for 3 years, until fan outcry caused the committee to reopen the Grand Prix, now referred to as F-Zero X, with a new set of rules in place in order to prevent the previous tragedy from occurring. This game covers the first Grand Prix under the new moniker, and that's pretty much the entire game. There's no story mode, just the different cups to complete. We can put this game in the timeline after the original F-Zero games. And we're not actually going to be ending things there. We still have a lot that we can talk about, even if the game itself is light on an actual plot. First, let's talk about the changes to the F-Zero races themselves. As before, races are separated into 4 cups, now with 6 tracks each rather than 5. There's also an additional set of randomly generated tracks known as the X Cup. The expansion kit, released in April of 2000, would go on to add 2 more cups with entirely new locations, as well as 3 upgraded vehicles for specific members of the main cast. Those being Captain Falcon, Samurai Goro, and Jody Summer. The game also adds a new mode, called Death Race, where the goal is not to win the race, but instead to destroy all the other machines on the track. Now, to me, this seems counter to the actual point of the F-Zero X race, but it's here anyways. I think Pico's happy. The main bulk of this video will be discussing our competitors. There are 30 racers in the game, 4 of which, Captain Falcon, Pico, Dr. Stewart, and Samurai Goro, are returning from the SNES games, all driving the same machines as before. I won't focus on each of them since they don't get a lot of development in the game, but they're still around. Captain Falcon was stated to have been among the racers injured during the accident 3 years prior, which we'll discuss more a little later. Now, let's get into the 26 new racers. The first of these is Jody Summer, driver of the White Cat. She's a well-regarded driver who also serves as the spokesperson of the Galactic Space Federation, an interplanetary police force who focuses on high-profile criminals. Captain Falcon is not a member of the Federation, but regularly works alongside them. Her machine, the White Cat, was a top-of-the-line design from the GSF, designed to run perfectly on any planet. It's also being considered for future military usage. While Jody's outfit is a lot more revealing, it kind of reminds me of that of a certain other Nintendo character, Samus Aran. Jody's partner is John Tanaka, a GSF mechanic who joined the F-Zero races to protect Jody, as he is completely infatuated with her. He designed his own racing machine, the Wonder Wasp. Initially, he just created the thing for fun, but it was eventually modified to become a real racing machine. Mighty Gazelle is a veteran racer, and was racing 3 years ago during the climactic crash. Out of everyone present, he was by far the most injured, to the point where almost his entire body had to be rebuilt as a robot. Despite that near-death experience, Gazelle still lives for the race, and chose to return when the F-Zero X was announced. His inclusion in the races stoked some outrage, as some people thought it would be unfair for him to compete with his new electronic body, but the committee allowed him to return anyways. He drives the Red Gazelle, a machine created by Cyberstick Inc., the same company that created his new body. It's a little on the fragile side, but since Mighty Gazelle no longer needs to worry about bodily harm, that suits him just fine. Also, it isn't canon to this continuity, but in the anime, Mighty Gazelle's original name was Roy Hughes, so Full Metal fans rise up, I guess. Baba is a native to the planet Giant, a place full of natural beauty. Baba didn't originally intend on becoming a racer, but was seeked out by the F-Zero pilot selection committee for his well-toned physique and animalistic instincts. He ended up leaving home to train for a year for a chance to win the inaugural F-Zero X Grand Prix. he drives the Iron Tiger, which was developed by the racer training school that Baba attended. While studying, he found a particular connection to the machine, and decided to keep it around. Octoman is an octopus-like resident of the planet Takora, which, at the time of this game, is on the brink of war with the Milky Way Space Federation, where the F-Zero games take place. The planet is also suffering through a massive economic depression, leading to Octoman racing in order to win the money for his children's college funds, as well as to help support his planet. His machine is the Deep Claw, which he bought used and then modified to account for his abnormal body type. It isn't much, but it's all that this poor Octodad can afford. Dr. Clash has always been a fan of F-Zero, and worked for many years as a machine engineer. However, his dream was to become a racer, something he struggled with greatly due to his limited athletic capabilities. He created a machine that provided 2 extra hands in order to help counter that natural lack of capability. He designed his own machine as well, the Crazy Bear, to go along with the new gadget. That wasn't the only machine of the race that Clash designed, however. He also created the Hyperspeeder out of an old abandoned fighter craft from a long ago planetary war. Its driver is Beastman, a human who survived an attack by a space crocodile and left it a changed man. He began dressing like a dinosaur and started hunting beasts, killing off most of the dangerous creatures on his home planet. Despite his extravagant outfit, Beastman is actually really shy around other people. He joined the race not necessarily for the money, but instead to advertise his services to the highest bidder. Beastman took an instant hatred to fellow racer Bio-Rex, an engineered dinosaur. He became a racer when the scientists who created him formed a racing team. His main goal is to prove his superiority over humanity. Rex's machine is the Big Fang, created by the same scientist who cloned Rex himself. It was designed to have perfect control, to match its dexterous pilot. Mr. EAD is a heavy-set android with a luscious mustache, a star-shaped belt buckle, and a strong love for Italian food. In other words, it's a he, Mario. Okay, not literally, he didn't jump universes or anything, but come on, just look at him. This man is a walking Nintendo reference. Out of universe, his name comes from the Nintendo Entertainment Analysis and Development Team, or Nintendo EAD, the development team led by Shigeru Miyamoto that created many classic games, starting with Super Mario Bros., and of course including the original F-Zero. His machine is the Great Star. It was designed by F-Zero engineer Shigs Mapone, a reference to Shigeru Miyamoto, and its stats are EAD, which is apparently the source of its driver's name in-universe. That machine was actually made out of another robot, who was once Mr. EAD's brother. That's right, the race car is Luigi. Get on it, artists. Next up, we have another Nintendo reference in the form of James McCloud, leader of the Flight Squad Galaxy Dogs. Yeah, really subtle, I know. He shares the name with the father of Star Fox protagonist Fox McCloud, but clearly isn't meant to be the same character since this one is, human. Though the outfit he wears is clearly inspired by that of the Star Fox team. James has started racing because, during peacetime, there isn't much need for mercenaries, and he has a wife and son at home to take care of. His racing machine, the Little Wyvern, is a modified flight craft like he would use in combat. James convinced the company that originally produced the fighter crafts, Space Dynamics, to have him test their technology in a new sphere of usage, that of racing. Of course, his machine looks like an R-Wing, and the company that produced it has the same name as the one that produces the gear for the Star Fox team in their own universe. Leon is another possible Star Fox reference, looking quite similar to Fox McCloud's rival, Wolf O'Donnell, and sharing his name with one of Wolf's companions, Leon Kowalski. 12 years ago, Leon's parents were killed in a war that overtook his home planet of Zoo. However, the war ended when an enemy soldier by the name of Fable Animal betrayed his own people to help lead the Zoo to victory. Fable would go on to design Leon's machine, the Space Angler, and sent him to the F-Zero Grand Prix as a beacon of hope for their world. Leon is also quite fond of children. Not only does he run an orphanage, but he also coaches a children's soccer team, which is admittedly very unlike Wolf O'Donnell. Billy is a large humanoid monkey that, to me, looks like a walking Dragon Ball reference. In the Japanese version, he had an image of Ai from Super Monkey Ball on his belt. So that's another possible influence. Billy is an actual monkey, and the descendant of the first monkey in space, Albert II. He was raised in a special laboratory designed to help him learn human behavior, and is the first of his kind to join the F-Zero Grand Prix. That lab also designed his machine, the Mad Wolf, which was specifically designed for a less intelligent life form like Billy to drive. Everything inside the machine is indicated not by letters and numbers, but instead by pictures, colors, and smells. Silver Neelsen is a veteran racer, still going strong at age 97. He has the record of the most races entered by a single pilot, but has never won a Grand Prix, despite his experience. His machine, the Night Thunder, is almost as old as he is, and was designed by his childhood friend, Goldhand. While Gold himself has passed away, parts of his intellect remain inside the racing machine, allowing the two best friends to continue to race together. Gomar and Shioh are members of an alien race called the Furikake, the planet Hukmane. According to their culture, two unmarried people are paired together and become partners. They cannot leave each other's side and do everything together until they get married. Gomar and Shioh are one such pair. Gomar is the shorter and more intelligent of the two, while Shioh is the taller and broader one. They form a team that is completely in sync, driving their machine, the twin Narita, together. And in case you didn't notice listening to those names, the two of them are pretty much just walking food puns. Jack Levin is a former pop star who left the music industry to follow his true passion, F-Zero racing. Despite being a celebrity racer, his skills are still incredible. This heartthrob drives the Astro Robin, a machine designed by Team Lightning Bolt, one of the earliest remaining F-Zero racing teams. To keep up with his popularity, the interior of the machine is fitted with cameras, allowing his face to be broadcast during races. Kate Allen followed a very similar trajectory as Levin. She was a superstar singer who commonly entertained at the opening ceremonies of numerous Grand Prix before deciding to try her hand as a participant. Being quite rich from her singing career, Kate commissioned her top-of-the-line racing machine, the Super Piranha, herself. Our next racer is a little rough around the edges. Michael Chain is the head of the Bloody Chain racing gang. A few years ago, the Chain gang had over 10,000 members. However, things changed when Chain started racing. He did so in order to represent the clan, but apparently this man glass-joded so hard that people started to leave the clan. Some people think that, if things keep going as they have been, the clan will dissolve completely in the next couple of years. That said, since he's been racing for a couple of years by this point, that means he was likely a racer before the infamous crash 3 years ago. His vehicle is the Wild Boar, the loudest in the history of F-Zero. And it also kinda looks like DK Jr. did in Super Circuit, at least for the back. Or maybe that's just me. Roger Buster and Draq are a pair of longtime friends who run a delivery company together. However, one day, the two were told to deliver a couple of racing machines, the Mighty Hurricane and the Mighty Typhoon, to Team Shooting Star, another racing team. However, over the last 3 years, every member of Team Shooting Star has gone missing, and I don't think that's ever actually been explained in universe. So without a place to deliver or a return address, the two were perplexed with what to do. That's when Draq came up with an idea. They race the machines in the Grand Prix, and naturally whoever owns the machines will contact them to get the things returned. In reality though, this was a chance for Draq, a long-term F-Zero fanatic, to live his dream, and maybe earn enough winnings for him to quit the delivery business and buy his own machine. Draq trains between races by playing the F-Zero video games. Maybe they were developed by the same team who made Mr. EAD? Roger doesn't care much about the race though. He just wants to complete the delivery, like the professional that he is. Antonio Guster is a racer with a score to settle. The former right-hand man of Samurai Goro, Goro betrayed Guster to save his own skin, landing poor loyal Antonio in prison. But now that his sentence is up, Guster is back with a chip on his shoulder and a desire to get his vengeance on the samurai. The next racer is a real bad dude, a supervillain. Zoda wishes for nothing less than to conquer the Earth. And no, despite his looks, he's not an alien. Zoda describes himself as an improved version of the human. Whatever that means. He's the leader of the secret society known as Death Riddle, and drives the Death Arrow, so named because it was an interplanetary ballistic missile that he stole and repurposed into a racing machine. Racing is mostly a side gig for him, and he's hoping to use his winnings to help fund the attempts at world conquest. As a supervillain, he's been marked for bounty by Captain Falcon, but the Captain is the least of this criminal's worries. Zoda's greatest adversary is the superhero Super Arrow. He has fantastic superpowers that are apparently really helpful for racing that are never actually described to us. He joined the party to crush Zoda's ambitions, but did so at the last minute without any training at all. Thankfully, he had an ace up his sleeve. His wife, Mrs. Arrow, a former F-Zero model who used her popularity to boost herself into the driver's seat during the original run of F-Zero races. She retired some years ago, but rejoined the race to aid her husband. Their machines, the King Meteor and the Queen Meteor, are based on the machines that she used in her old racing days. A blast from the past, the racer known as the Skull is actually legendary racer Arvin Gordon, a legend from the F-Max Grand Prix 200 years ago. Gordon was raised from the dead using a mix of science and black magic to return to racing, likely by the Albinus Company, the entertainment company that also designed his machine, the Sonic Phantom. In Japanese, they're called the Anubis Company, referencing the Egyptian god of death. But don't worry, death did not dull this former record holder's skills whatsoever. Finally, we get to the villains of our piece, and there is no more iconic villain in F-Zero than Black Shadow. Known as the King of Evil, he wants to win the championship for his own nefarious reasons that I think I'll hold off on explaining until we get to GX. As a well-known villain, Shadow is naturally wanted by the Galactic Federation police, but he shows up at the race anyways because he, frankly, isn't afraid of them. A bigger annoyance is actually Captain Falcon. He's been taking down his goons left and right, leading to a personal vendetta against Mr. Show Ya Moves. His vehicle is the Black Bolt. If that name sounds familiar, then you're clearly a Sonic fan who grew up in the early to mid 2000s. And yes, that was a reference to this game. I mentioned earlier that during the crash 3 years ago, Captain Falcon was heavily injured and hospitalized for some time. During that period, Black Shadow managed to steal some of his blood and used it to create Captain Falcon's true equal, Blood Falcon, a clone with all of the skills and abilities of the Captain, but with an unwavering loyalty to Black Shadow. That also makes him, at most, 3 years old. That said, despite being the final product, Blood Falcon has revealed that he isn't the only clone that's been made of the Captain. His machine is the Bloodhawk, created as a semi-copy of the Blue Falcon, but with more boost. And that is it for our newcomers. There are a lot of them, but I hope I covered them in enough detail to please everyone. F-Zero X also came with a few new tracks, but most of them don't have much lore to speak of. Big Hand and Bigfoot probably take place in the same planet, but Devil's Forest, Sectors Alpha and Beta, and Space Planet don't give us much to work with. There is one more course worth discussing though. Rainbow Road. No, I didn't stutter. This is Rainbow Road from Mario Kart 64, but in F-Zero. Just take out the Mario characters and the stars and the chain chomps, and stretch it out a little bit more because F-Zero goes a lot faster. It isn't really explained, but likely it's just a track in space, much like it is in Mario Kart. A sequel track, Phantom Road, was released with F-Zero GX, which we'll talk about in that game's video. And that's it for F-Zero X. This game really expanded the universe far beyond the scope of the SNES games. That universe will only grow more when we start getting to later installments. Well, I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.